Now they're trying to figure out how to make a tournament for 16 college football teams starting in 2026. And I think we'd all agree whatever they do here starting in 26 needs to stay in place for a while, at least a decade, because, the House settlement is a decade-long injunction. Can we coincide this with a 10-year run of the same type of playoff and not be changing it up every couple of years? I think everybody's looking forward to that. Speaking of whiplash, people are tired of that whole move. But this just came out this morning because we know the SEC meetings are inside a month now. We also know the conference leaders are still meeting on a continual basis about this. And according to Brett McMurphy of Stadium.com, his sources deep into these conversations have told him that the commissioners of each conference have decided to start over, quote unquote. Start over. Like back to square one of how they're going to do this.
Oh, great.
Because we know the Big Ten and the SEC initially wanted the 4 automatic qualifiers, which would be conference champions, and then the 4 automatic qualifiers for the ACC or the SEC and the Big Ten, 2 each for the ACC and the Big 12, and then 3 at large in a space for Notre Dame.
Right.
Which, again, I will stay on record. I don't hate that as much as a lot of people do. I understand the Big 12 wants more than 2 guarantees. They'd like to have years where they get in 3. I just think that's a pipe dream. I think the same for the ACC, but okay, egos are in the way here. But as I said, with that format, they were going to decide 14 of the 16 teams on the field with play-in tournaments for the championship games and all that. Oh, well, because I like that format. I'll be on. I'm not going to come off that, but it's not going to get adopted. There's not enough support for it because not only did the ACC and the Big 12 push back in a big way on that format, the SEC coaches, the coaches in the Southeastern Conference came back and said, no, we don't like that at all. We want 5 plus 11. So the 5 automatic bids, which would be the conference champions of the 4 power conferences, and then the best, like Boise State last year, the 5th team, who is the highest ranked non-group of 4 power conference champion, and then 11 at large and just seed it. And remember, the SEC is not, they don't like the committee. They don't want the committee judging which teams are best, right? So they wanted to take it out of the committee's hands as much as possible, and that's why they came up with the format they came up with. Well, this puts it back in the committee's hands to pick 11 at-large teams and then seed them. But when I hear this, because the SEC wants to give more value to strength of schedule metrics, that they believe their 8-game schedule is already tougher than your 9-game schedule. That's they put out pamphlets, information, data,
packets.
The Big Ten looks at that and says, "Come on, get out of here. Play 9. Everyone else is playing 9. You're not playing 9." As much as there are people that will support this, I don't think the SEC is going to be able to win that argument. That our 8-game schedule is tougher than your 9-game schedule.
Right.
Sorry. We all have to be on a level playing field here if we're going forward. Even if your conference is tougher. Sorry. We got to go 9 because that 12th game kind of sucks anyhow. Sam Houston State's not a fun game if you're a Texas fan. Alcorn State or Samford or any of those games. Chattanooga, Tennessee or whatever. Terrible.
Shout out to the Mocs.
Come on. So if they're going back to square one, according to Brett McMurphy, because that's all the tweet says.
Yeah.
Remember what Greg Sankey has said on this. You know what I bet Greg Sankey comes back with? Playing a little hardball here. He's going to say, okay, then get rid of the conference champion. No automatic bids. Take the top 16 and get out of here. We don't need your non-group of 4 power, your Boise State, if they're not in the top 16 teams. We don't need your Big 12 champion if they're not in the top 16 teams. Now, if they are, they can come in, but we don't need your conference champion. Well, look, that's what Greg Sankey has been on record saying he favors, which a lot of people do, which is what are we doing here? Just take the best 16 when the season's over. If the committee's going to pick 11 of them, just let them pick all of them. Who's 1, who's 2, who's all the way to 16? Did you win a conference championship or not? Who cares? Give us the best 16 teams, seed them, rank them, let's go. Why are you against that?
Me? I just don't, at that point, we're giving all the power to the committee. I mean, I hear your point of if we're already given 11, why not give them all 16? But I think the conference championship should mean something. If the conference champion
in any of those conferences is not in the top 16, should they automatically be in?
No, it's a fair question. It's just giving all the power to them is debating what a top 16 team is. At least conference champion, you're getting, they won it on the field.
If Greg Sankey pushes for this.
Well, they're getting 6 teams then, probably, the SEC, like they would have last year, right?
Right. Yeah. And that's where Greg Sankey's okay. Then I'm not going to be nice guy on your conference champion.
Right, sure.
I don't even want that team.
We don't need you, Boise State or Tulane.
No,
right. No, I understand why he wants that. Because they're getting 6 teams or 5 at worst case.
My thought, why do we need a committee at all? Why don't we, every other sport has a net or a rating or an RPI or something like that.
The metrics.
Why don't we just go back to the BCS, but instead of 2 teams, we have 16? What are the top 16 mathematically decided on teams, and we weigh it based on strength of schedule and quad 1, quad 2 wins and all that. And then, sorry, you missed out by 0.01. Get them next year.
Well, and Greg Sankey has advocated for that too.
No more committees.
Well, because the committee was designed to bring in people from all former coaches, former athletic directors. There's a member of the media on there, and so they try to get a wide range of opinions. But yeah, opinions are what you don't want. I don't disagree with you. Take the best 16. But I think that's going to, what that will hurt is there'll be a lot of years where the group of 5 highest ranked team isn't the top 16. They won't be there.
Well, and my question is,
they don't play good enough teams.
Would teams want to schedule the School of the Blind, the Villanovas of the world that aren't even FBS teams, just so they can avoid a loss, and that maybe will help the metric, like what Penn State is doing with their out-of-conference schedule. Unlike Texas, where, give credit to Texas, they scheduled Ohio State, Michigan, Notre Dame throughout these years. Are they going to avoid doing that? Because
I would hope not.
This little win's going to help us a lot more than a loss to a really good team.
Well, and I think if you strip it all the way back to that, I think you force the Big 12 and these, the other 6 non-group Power 4 conferences to take a look at it and say, do we want that?
Right.
Because there are going to be years where we don't get a team in at all. And it's all Big 10, it's all Big SEC, and then there's a couple 3 ACC, maybe 1 Big 12. That's why I said at the beginning, giving the Big 12 2 automatically every year, that's a gift to them. I mean, there are going to be a lot of years they don't have 2 teams that are of the best 16. They're going to have a conference champion every year. But what I look at with the Big 12 is they're going to have a lot of 3-loss teams, and you get 3 in a non-power 2 conference. Do you even crack that to Jack's mathematics and just the algorithm of the top 16? I don't know. But and I'll go back to the 4 plus 4 plus 2 plus, the 4 at-larges. In that scenario, the Big 10 and the SEC were going to change their championship weekend formats and go play in. So, 3 plays 6, 4 plays 5 for one of those automatic spots. And I think if you go there, you talk about in November that if you're sitting in 8th place in the SEC or the Big 10, and you realize you can play your way into the 6th spot with a couple of wins here, and that gets you a play-in game to be able to play your way into the big tournament, that's compelling.
Right, like the
you
NFL.
had a bad start. You had some injuries.
Right.
Like you got South Carolina last year. Now you got off to a bit of a tough start. You blew one to LSU. Your quarterback got hurt. But in the end of the year, can we play our way to the 6th place spot?
Right.
And play 3, and we're playing as well as anybody. If we do that, we're playing our way into the tournament. I love that idea, but no one else does. I'm in a strong minority on that.
Right, it's like playing into a wild card spot, right? In the NFL.
But that's to me, because I don't like BCS rankings. I don't like the committee. I like that. I like playing your way in.
Playing it on the field, exactly.
And the other thing it does is if you tell teams you can play your way in all 4 of the power conferences, concede there and go to 4-3-3. But I don't think we need 3 Big 12 teams in a tournament. I'm just telling you, big picture. But the teams are playing their way in, earning their way in. Well, at that point in September, they will play tougher games.
100%. See, they can afford it.
I can lose this game, but I'm going to
find
out where my holes are.
It's only going to help.
Yeah, it'll help me. But if I lose it, I can still go win my conference.
Right.
And if you're the Big 12, like Baylor is playing Auburn in week 1. Well, Baylor, that's a huge win for Baylor. If they get that, beat an SEC team, that's a data point for them in a huge way into the Big 12. And so, playing those games becomes important. I don't know. There's not a perfect answer. I think that's why they're stripping this thing back down. There's going to be more opinions than answers. But I go back to the beginning. I love the idea of 14 teams of the 16 being decided on the field, because that would include Notre Dame, and Notre Dame would have to play their way in, earn their way in by winning games and being undefeated essentially, and they may be 1 loss to get in the field. So Notre Dame would earn their spot of one of the 16, and then the committee would be in charge with picking 2.
Yeah,
and then ranking them. They're seeding them. I don't hate that, but apparently they're stripping it back and starting over. What say you? 5-1-2. And I think that's what Greg Sankey's going to come back with. Like, hey, y'all, then get rid of these automatic qualifiers in total. We don't need any conference champion qualifiers. We'll just let the committee and a different computer ranking pick the best 16, and we'll go from there. We think we'll be really good in the SEC if that's what we do.
100%.
We think at the end of the year we're going to be in a good place, and the Big Ten does too. If that's what you guys want to do, let's do that. Let's get rid of all automatic qualifiers for the 16-team tournament. Those negotiations have re-begun, I guess, is the way we would put that. Yeah, they're starting over.